Two over here.
But you live, bro. Yeah, it's a little bit lagging, eh?
I didn't realise they were giving away free something so you could come into this group. Given that we're going to be having we'll be fielding a lot of questions, I'm going to assume by the size of our group. We're going to save all the questions until the end of all four quarter, and then we can start fielding the questions. So let's get straight into this. I'd like to call up our first speaker. I am Nathan. I shouldn't have had to look at your surname, Eamon. He hails from Te Oroa, and just a little something I learned about Eamon just during the lunch break. He used to work here at Te Wānanga Rākawa. So, I shouldn't actually be introducing him. He should be introducing himself. He's not actually a visitor here, so welcome back home, Eamon. Engari, Hupalanga Tēnei Noku e Mingana Te Whatu Katoa, and let's get straight on into this. Quickly for Eamon and Nathan Tēnei.
Ai, wai mo nei tō kuingoa, he ria no roto I te Waipaua, te rangi. But I'm not just Te Roroa, I'm Ngāti Toremina as well, from in the Kaihu. We ended up over there, one of my tupuna acquired lands over there, long story, but it's a link into the Kaihu Valley, and that's where my name comes from. But it goes a little bit further back. He's got, he was known as Nika in our whakapapa. He was a saint guy, of mixed lineage, Pacifica and Portuguese. And that's my Māori, my taha Māori. But my grandfather went to the war, and he met a lovely maiden from the island of Crete. Long story short, after the war, he went back, married her in the village of Swagapula, and then brought her back. And they got off the train in Mamaranui in Kaihu Valley, and lived happily ever after. Had two young boys, Alex, Manos, and my father Evan. My dad married Dori Neki. She's a house from the island of Rarotonga, Ngāti Arera heritage, and her father, so that's her mother, my grandmother, and her father married an Irishman. So from Belfast, Northern Ireland, in fact. So those whakapapas unite with me, and so my grandfather's name was Ned Nathan on my dad's side, also known as Edwina, and with my Irish whakapapa, they gave me the name Eamon, which is Edmund or Edwina or Edward in Gaelic. So, so reconnecting Northland, so I've got a few sort of declarations to make, I suppose. Firstly, this presentation is going to be a little bit bipolar in the sense that on I'm going to talk about reconnecting Northland, which is my mahi, my day-to-day mahi, and I'm going to talk a bit about some other mahi that I've done in my community in Waipo, around wānanga. And I'm going to try to weave those things together at the end. That's what I'm going to attempt to do. Okay, so bear with me. I thought I'd start with a bit of a video just to sort of introduce you to Reconnecting Northland and just two of the kaupapa that we support. Yeah. Oh, there's no music.
Sorry.
Should I pause it?
I'm not sure what.
Okay, so hopefully that's a little bit of an insight into what Reconnecting Northland is about, but I'll just sum it up more concisely. You can leave it on.
You're not.
No. You guys on the mic?
On.
Or, so Reconnecting Northland is a bit of a trailblazer in terms of landscape scale conservation or connectivity conservation in Aotearoa. There are other examples, international examples of it, but Reconnecting Northland is the first regional scale regional scale conservation connectivity program in Aotearoa. been running for 5 years. I've been in the role for 1 year. It's floated by Tyndall Foundation, Foundation North, and HSBC Water Program. The original initiation phase was set up and delivered by WWF and Landcare Trust New Zealand. We're currently in a transition phase in that the structure, in terms of the delivery, has created a number of sort of complications and complexities. And in order to mitigate and get rid of those complexities, we're setting up an independent entity, which is actually one of the strengths of Reconnecting Northland, and that it doesn't have the baggage of a bunch of other agencies and that are working in that space. We can traverse land tenures, and we can work with any group and so forth. So this is our vision: whenua ora, wai ora, tangata ora. And whakatauki, tātai whenua, tātai tangata, tātai ora. It's all about connecting people with land, but also connecting landscapes. Now, the challenge, I suppose, is really about how you do that, and what are the motivations, if you like, of the people to want to get involved and do the mahi, really. So it's, when I say regional scale, that's the scope of the region, pretty much from the North Shore to Te Rerenga Waiora. It does include some of the sort of inshore islands or nearby islands, but and I suppose not but we have a 50-year intergenerational vision, and we know that in order to make this a transformational change, it's going to take 50 years or more. So this is just some of I sent out an update recently to our stakeholders, and one of the responses that was, "Oh, thanks for the Skype list." This is a Skype list. I never did that one before, and I thought, well, it's not really about that. But these are some of the things that we've done, and it's not Reconnecting Northland that's done it, it's the communities that's done it. It's the iwi, it's the people that are doing the mahi. Our role is really as an enabler. How we float around, and I suppose we've sort of how we describe what we do as the invisible work, the mahi behind the scenes, the brokering of relationships, the merging or enabling of things to happen, flow of resources, providing technical advice in terms of how to undertake some of the mahi on the ground. So I won't go through all of that. And this is our horrendogram. I do not expect you to be able to see that or even understand it. But it might give you some idea about the complexity of the program. Now, so conservation connectivity, bear in mind I'm not an ecologist by any stretch of the imagination. I come from a socio-cultural community advancement background. That's sort of my passion, working with the people and the land and yeah, arts. I'm into the arts actually. So this resonates with me because it's visual and I can see how it all kind of works. But anyway, I don't expect you guys to. It's small and complex and stuff. But primarily, the core focus of Reconnecting Northland is about te taiao and using conservation techniques to link up landscapes, to connect landscapes, understanding that the theme will be more resilient to all of these things like climate change and whatnot if the biospheres are more connected, if the ecology is more connected. Native species can flow freely across the landscape, and that includes us native species can flow freely along the landscape. So it's looking at things like corridors and buffer zones and stepping stones and whatnot. But we also acknowledge that we need to connect people. People are the ones that are going to be the doers, and so what are the relationships that can be formed not just within the communities, but amongst agencies and researchers, schools, businesses, and so forth. Resources, we've got to connect resources as well, support and foster social enterprise, ecological enterprise, those sorts of things that are going to change the system, really. And then probably the most important thing is about Māori. And I don't know about you fellas, but the Māori at this way and at this place is palpable. you know, and I recognise this because the wānanga that I've done at home, you feel it, you can just, you know, the activation of space in line with the vision, you know, and not just physical space, but spiritual and those other dimensions. And when they're all active, you know, you can, it's palpable. So that's probably the most critical part as far as I believe, you know, as much as it's about restoring the whenua, Modi is what penetrates everything. So how do you inspire that? So I mentioned that we're in a bit of transition at the moment. So this is kind of how we have been working for the first phase. We're currently working with our existing funders, Tyndall Foundation and Foundation North, around evolving our approach. It's centralised around the idea of connectivity. And what we have been doing is working with projects, and there are two of them, Tō Whenua and Waraaki, around using those projects, I suppose, as test pots of microcosms of connectivity. How do these projects work and how do they apply connectivity, and what are the learnings that we can derive from that to apply with exportable benefits, I suppose, to other areas. Using the learnings from here, we develop tools and solutions to address the needs. Things like spatial mapping or social enterprise or payment for ecosystem services, those sorts of things, research, working around you know, social behaviour change, those sorts of things are kind of what form this, but also sharing the model of connectivity to see others, how others jump on board and adopt it and embrace it themselves. And then growing understanding is really about the roots. Without the systems, without the sustainable putia, without the leadership, the program doesn't have a solid rooting. So what that looks like now is probably going to evolve, and that's at the heart, I suppose, as well, of reconnecting Northern as adaptive and evolutionary, not sort of getting stuck in one mould. So this is just briefly some of the areas that we're working. Coming up the west coast, we've got Poto down here, Poto Peninsula, and so there's a network of 50 odd lakes on the peninsula, and so we're working with Ahika and the Taishaki down there around how, very much in the initial stages, how they want to approach it, how they want to develop their vision and so forth, and lead out. The Tō Whenua, you've got a little bit of a look at that. That's a 900 hectare corridor of restoration. Cultural redress lands, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Warawara Whakaorake up here in the North Hokianga of Te Rarawa. Ngāroto Tāpukapuka is 3 iwi, mai takoto Kiaupauri and Te Rarawa, although the lakes aren't particularly on Te Rarawa lands, they're involved. Over here is another initiative called the Kiwi Coast, multiple landholders, agencies, conservation groups working together to create a corridor for kiwi flow freely across the landscape. And then in here is another one called Go With The Flow, which is primarily around changing land use practices to be more sustainable in the kaipara, primarily focused on water. Can't get into too much detail. So these are some of the things that we do in the space of connectivity and how we spread that approach. I don't want to sort of dwell too much on that. I want to kind of get to some of the other stuff. One of the new things, I suppose, that we're step back. Last week we had 2 Australian guys come over. One from Gondwana Link in the southwest of Australia. They've been running for 17 years. The scale at which they're working is just kind of mind-blowing. They get blocks of land, 5 million hectares, planted out. You know, kind of, how do you guys plant out that much? And they don't have the same issues in terms of weeds. They just broadcast seed, modified agricultural equipment, and they get, you know, they transform the land and they see changes within three months, kind of thing. Well, and another guy, Gary Howland from Great Eastern Ranges. So that's all up East Coast, Victoria, ACT, New South Wales, Queensland. And so again, that scale is just kind of mind-blowing what they do. But what we've been talking about is, okay, so we're working in these projects. Here, this is the Hokianga kind of Hokianga figure area or mapi, kind of bearings. So we're working down here in Waipawa, Te Toa Whenua, Warawara over here in the North Hokianga. How do we scale that up? How do we scale up out of the projects and connect a takiwā? Not just the landscape, so we've got, you know, Waipawa, Matarawa, Waimā forest, but all of these dark patches, and Pukiti over here, or Mahuka, but all these dark patches are like native bush, 10 hectares or more. They can create what I was talking about in terms of stepping stones and corridors to link these bigger tracts of intact indigenous forests to allow what I was saying in terms of flow of biodiversity. But equally, takiwā, you know, traditionally Māori, we worked in a, actually, I'm going to skip, because this is what I'll talk about, we'll kind of get to this. So, indigenous approaches. So this is where I'm going to change tack and get back to some of the stuff that I have been doing within my people in the Te Roroa. So wānanga, an indigenous approach to creativity, innovation in Māori communities. And I'm going to quote, I know Reese quoted Tapu Karuku earlier. What he talks about on that same paper that he quoted is wānanga is about a move from the preoccupation with mātauranga to being inspired by wānanga. And so what I'm advocating for within the work that we do, these oldies that I talked about, they're coming at it from a very scientific approach. Cool, works for them. We're talking about mana whenua. What's the best approach for mana whenua? And my suggestion is that it lies in wānanga. And I suggest that some of the work that we did, Te Rau Titapu. Te Rau Titapu is a tohu mana. It's a tohu mana of our people in Waipawa when Manu Manu came out of Muri Whenua and he settled, married a woman of Hinekui lineage. He removed the Rau Titapu from his headdress and he planted it in the Whenua Hou. This is the new land. That's a tohu mana for our people. That's a kōrero whaimana for our people, because within that corridor are the narratives and the clues or triggers that can inform what we do going forward. And we all have these. We all have these. Kōrero whaimana, mahi whaimana, tohu mana. I'm not going to read those out. So our wānanga was really about how do we explore these things? How do we explore them with a view that we can evolve meaningful expression of these tohu mana, kōrero whaimana, mahi whaimana. Not to just sort of keep looking back, but actually to look back to know that we're going forward. And I think Pātaka talked about that as well. You'll know that already. So I'll just sort of talk quickly. I wonder if this will work. I pulled together a bit of a slideshow. I'm hoping it's going to work. That's my niece, Kitty Marie. So, tohu mana, te awa Waipawa. How do we connect with te awa Waipawa? Well, we've got to, I think we'll fit those right. You connect with it by being with it. And so we had 60-year-olds through this, down to 60-year-olds walk this river. It took us 7 hours. We went up our moment. This isn't sort of, you know, new stuff, but it was an initial attempt to how do we connect with our pepeha. We got to experience it, so you don't just get up and say it. We planted Maruimata tohe, only tree to be found, or that tree can only be found on Maunganui. Then we started to sort of think about what are some of the other mahi whaimana that we that are unique and distinct to us, if you like. Uku, if any of you guys know Waipawa, it's got a kiln up there, or what do you call it? A mahi uku. And we explored our kōrero around making ipuwhenua, waka taure here tangata, the waka that tie us to the whenua when our pipi are born, we bury the placenta. You guys know this stuff. We carved a waka. Question was, kauri, he tohu mana. How do we connect with it? We sit at a distance from it. How do we relate to our kin, our kauri? Hale, a log 8 meters long, float down the river. We pulled it up, put it to the marae, carved a waka out of it. And in that experience, in that experience, the thing with that we, when I talk about that palpable moment, it wasn't about carving the waka. The main thing was about us relating to that code. And there was one particular incident that I just want to talk about, experience that I want to talk about, was when we shaped the hull, we got our young kōtiro to come and oil up the hull. And the moment that the oil hit the timber, it came to life. And so did our wahi, our kōtiro. They were just off the chain, like buzzing out, like, whoa. And so one of the things that we wanted to do through all our wānanga was capture new kōrero. We stopped composing karakia, we stopped composing waiata, we stopped composing whakatauki. Whakatauki were a way in which we took photos of experiences to perpetuate that kōrero and that experience for interpretation further down the line. So the kōrero that we composed for that, the whakatauki, puro to kauri, puro to tangata. The beauty of the kauri is reflected in the beauty of the people. And how do we explore that further? Well, we take that whakatauki and we figure that out through another wānanga. This last one I just want to talk about, because this was the inspiration to the Tō Whenua. The Tō Whenua is another kōrero. A tupuna of mine composed a waiata for his grandchild, and in it he talks about the raru in the north, if you like, the battles that were going on between Te Roroa and others in the north. And he said, mea hakoe e tama e, he tūranga pā heke heke, ka pā tāua e ko te toa whenua, ko tō matua i atu ohu. Mahi atu tāu ki te tūkau no kai, e no hoia mai ana te mūharu. Mahi atu tāu ki te tūkau no rongo, e no hoia mai ana e te hōtete. Ka hore ia nei e tohu o te mate. Now, loosely, that's saying we're on a slippery slope. We're in amongst all of this anger and riri, this hostility. I wish we only had te toa whenua, your uncle, Tuohu. He was a gardener. He cultivated not just kai, but he cultivated people. And so in amongst, and he says, mahi atu tāu ki te tūkau no rongo, we're damned if we do, we're damned if we don't, kind of a thing. But the light in that phrase was about te tō whenua. Tō whenua is an inspiration to become, to allow that mana tupuna to flow again through us. Allow that mana whenua to flow again through us to become the experts of the land. So the whole corridor was in many ways, not just that part, but was in many ways the foundation of the Te Roroa Treaty Claim. And it became known as the Wāhi Tapu Claim, because throughout that whole corridor, a whole myriad and a whole network of archaeological sites, not Wāhi Tapu in terms of burial sites, Wāhi Tapu in terms of mahina, where our tupuna worked, the land. And they were all they cleared the land of these stones and they created these rock formations that the Celtics believed as an old Celtic civilization. But it's not. It's what our tupuna did because they were experts of the land and they used these structures for irrigation, to prolong the propagation cycles and growth cycles of kai. So the Tō Whenua was about, well, how do we explore that kōrero? And so long story short, and I'm probably out of time or thereabouts, is that the corridor isn't about just restoring it back to native. It's about creating a mosaic of land use that can sustain our people in that valley, as it once did. And my point in that is that although the starting point wasn't ecological restoration, that's where it's ended up. But the motivation was this narrative. The motivation was that kōrero about our tupuna and the prowess of their attributes and their mana to inspire what we want to do going forward, and it's created a vision. And so with coming back, this is where I'm going to try and bring it back. With regard to reconnecting Northmen, what did a connected Northman look like? What did a connected Northman feel like? It wasn't just connected through landscape, it was connected through our whakapapas, through our narratives. You guys know all of this stuff. How do we explore those to inspire this initiative. And it lies within the community. So Reconnecting Northland's role is really about how do we enable that to happen. So here's a couple of examples. Te kawa waiora. I want to acknowledge Meihana and the work that he's done with the kawa oranga. Backing up our words, I suppose, with actual lived practices and conventions. So creating tikanga, creating kawa that are inspired and informed by our own principles and our own values to ensure living waters, thriving waterways. How do we work with the communities around that? Kauri Daite, Purotu Kauri, Purotu Tangata. Why people talk about the Māori being in decline. Well, how do you inspire, how do you uplift, elevate kia pou te Māori? You be with it. You be with it, and that Māori flows. That Māori flows between the people and the kauri. And there's all sorts of things I could get into in terms of what we would like to do with that. But living landscapes, how do we live our narrative to connect across the Taitokerau? So this is, again, tātou whenua, tātou tangata, tātou oranga. And I see someone else use that quote from Albert Einstein. We can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we use to create them. But we've got to change it up. And you guys, all the quarter that's gone before me, the same stuff. We've got to change it up. This is the social deprivation index map of Te Taitokerau. I see that not as an issue, I see that as an opportunity. And that, in one way, one of the reasons why Te Taitokerau was identified for this, because of the opportunity that exists. Yeah, that's me. Thanks for bearing with me. I know
somebody said the light would have 5 minutes. I'd like to thank you for bearing with me and my piece of paper. The amount of research that goes into being able to present like this, you can get that this is something that has developed over years and through a lot of experiential learning. So on behalf of our class here, on behalf of us all, and it's going to be so little, what I have to say is so little. I mean, I'd love to spend more time with you because I am that Northlander that needs to be connected back home again. And on behalf of us all, I'd like to thank you very much for your input and my
and partial response by breaking a sweat and getting it dry out. Pretty good.
Such as the caliber of the speakers, we can't fit everyone in. Hey, our next speaker, man who is a Huria Maori. It was Hikurangi Enterprises. They create jobs and income generation for the area of East Coast, in particular, Ruatoria. And when you look at this, it's horticulture, Ruatoria. Skills. Anyway, Whanapa. He runs a sustainable horticultural course to the Eastern Institute of Technology. And if you look at the book here, you see a couple of twins. Because this cohort left them in the lurch, and so it's just Whanapa family couldn't make it. So we just privileged to have Whanapa here to have a portal to us. So,
tautoko te kaupapa o te awhi, te whakatipu o ngā whānau, o ngā whānui, o ngā whenua o tātou o hina te tine i aroha kia koutou. E ko ai au, ko te uri a Māui, te uri a ui pōhatu, e Ngāti Parau hoki, ka tū mai au, ki runga ngā poko hiwi a ngā tūpuna. I just had one of my a taioko e our kohanga reo e rako marae in my ear, and she's one of those aunties that's always in your ear. How good you're doing, something about how bad you're doing. She's that one that's always with all of those aunties. And she's just, and when I moved home about 3.5 years ago, I've been around collecting a kiti full of experiences and talks. We took our kids back. We went home so our kids could grow up and they knew where their Te Ranga Wairau was. We went to the kohanga, and we walked in, and the first thing she's doing is blowing up one of the kids. And we're just like, what? Anyway, her kōrero was she growled our moko, and then she celebrated that mischievous by saying, "You are the uri of Maui." Maui was infamous for being a mischievous. So within that, a lot of what we have done is that mischievousness within us escaping. The things that we do, the projects that we're doing, the pathways that we're looking for is all in the peripheral. You know, the mainstream hasn't served our people, just like the brother here. The East Cape is covered with all that dark red stuff, the low deprivation index of net opportunity. And so I was a sekirangi. So when we try to how Maui's what is. Yeah. So how do Hikirangi enterprises come about? We've all got whānau politics, we've all got iwi politics, we've all got hapu politics. And we've got a number of hapu clusters that are based around the Ruatoria area, up and down the coastal of Tairāwhiti actually. And one of the hapu clusters was really strong about environmental and cultural preservation. And there was an understanding that we need to lift the economic part of the community, to lift the baseline of our community. That was an integral part, but it needed to be done separately. So what was suggested was that rather than being hapu based, we created something else that didn't have to deal with the hapu politics. We pulled people out from, well, we put the karanga out, and the people who turned up, I know you're the directors, I know you're the trustees, and they were the doers, they were the ones that do stuff. So we're able to move quickly in our decisions. We're able, because the people involved are the doers, they have the mana from the people, we're able to do that stuff. They're the ones that are always at the marae, they're the ones that are always cleaning up the gutters in the whare, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of the model that we work under. We're not iwi based, we're not hapu based, we're not whānau based, but that's what we do all our money for. So as a structure, that's kind of how we work, and it's allowed us to be a little bit more freer from our own phenomena. I'm not using the tech one, so. Hikirangi enterprises, that's us in the middle there. That's our business arm, I guess. It's a charitable company that can make money or can create jobs that create that income. Hikirangi Tokina Trust owns Hikirangi Enterprises 100%. Charitable company, and that way we've been able to take advantage of the charitable status so that Putia stays at home rather than going to government to pay for stuff overseas and drill and all that kind of stuff. And then this model came out of some philanthropic funding that came to us, and it was invested in what kind of structure do we set up that allows us to do what we want to do. Without that, we wouldn't have the basis that we have now. So that's us where we do most of our work. That's our korowai over there. And this is how those Hikirangi Enterprises partners and other enterprises. So
Pickerangi Bioacres is a separate entity that gets taxed. That doesn't. All the proceeds that come out of that partnership go there, and those don't get taxed, but this does. So we're able to bring capital in to enable us to do stuff. Because the oily rag only goes so far. Now, if we really want to get to some capacity, our experience is you really need some proof to be able to do that. Not always, but it's certainly helpful. So this is Pickerangi Hua Tokina. It's more focused on social stuff, not so much money stuff. So there's a whole lot of stuff there. How do we utilise land? How do we inform honeys to get home? How do we inform how to get good honey contracts? Carbon farming, permaculture planning, drone mapping, crop management. How do we prepare business cases, public funding proposals, philanthropic funding, crowdfunding, all that kind of thing that you spend your money on. None of that stuff really makes any money. So that's where the trust sits. So we're about increasing the baseline of our community. If we lift the whole community by that much, the ripple effect is massive. You know? It's not just about creating incomes for whānau, but how do you support the subsistence living? Because if your subsistence living is lifted, you don't need to make so much money to be able to exist. Most of our whānau live back home for living the lifestyle that we have as kaitiaki of our whenua, as kaitiaki of our marae, of our whānau. I was introduced, I run a sustainable horticulture course at Eastern Institute of Technology, and I have to make it to them because they've been a massive component in allowing me to express my Māori tanga and get questioned on a few things. It was based on a sustainable horticulture course that came out of NZQA. We've completely redesigned it, been able to create our own courses, and this year we're doing light earth building. So we're building out of natural resources, local resources, so we've got access to healthy and affordable homes for our whānau. Just like in Northland, we live in, a lot of our whānau live in shacks, we're māwiwi, our mokos, our kuia karawa, our māwiwi, the whānau gets taken away from work to look after them, need to me. And there's a lot of research being done. Every dollar that's spent on healthy housing equals $20 in savings in the rest of the community. So the last 3 months we've been building earth ovens. It's not quite a pizza oven, you can fit 2 pigs in there and 100 because our whānau aren't Italian and pizzas go all right, but you get over them after a bit. So we've built 7 of these from Wharekahika, which is at the top of the Cape, all the way down to Manatuki, which is just inland from Gisborne. And that was done as a teaser for light earth building in the community. As we know, as Māori, if you've got a happy puku, then everything else kind of flows. So fill the puku and then we're away. So subsistence living, getting our people ticketed up on their chancels. We've got lots of forestry. We're not really into forestry. It's a pest. We've got it at the moment. How do we transition? But while they're there, let's make our whānau safe. So subsistence stuff. That's our local honeybee cooperative. So how do we be smart about what we do? So it's not outside companies coming in. How do we develop our own people and develop those mechanisms that allow us to be, lack of a better word, mining the gold out of our hills rather than it being shipped away in trucks by outsiders. So that's the trust work. This was last year. We held an association with Messi. There's 3 wānau. This one was about Manuka and more. We had something like 30 or 40 scientists, experts from around the country come to present to whānau and whānau to present to them to make those linkages. It wasn't about us saying we know everything. It's about here's some people who love being researchers and scientists and they need people to engage with. Any fellows want to engage, and some really good partnerships and collaborations have come out of there. This is Ui Pohatu Hall at Whakarua Park. It was built by Apiriana Nata on the return of our move from overseas from the war, around about that era. there hadn't been a hui of this size or this much interest since the 80s. I think that's a reflection of, and I've spoken to a number of people here about the way that things are changing at the moment and the opportunities to do stuff. There seems to be an opening in space. So I think that's a reflection of what happened really. Rikurangi enterprises. So here's some of the things that we're looking at. There's that one that quite a few of our whānau have got a lot of talent in. We've got a beautiful climate for it. And we've accidentally become hemp growers, or legal hemp growers. So we put in a trial last year, and it's exceeded our expectations, and opportunities that are coming from that are massive. We planted that because if you put something in the ground that grows and then you've got to deal with it, we planted that to develop relationships with our own whānau, because you talk about growing hemp and like, oh, what about my crop? What about my crop? I don't want that stuff anywhere near my crop, because they cross-pollinate, makes them both useless. So we did that and then got the whānau involved. Number of I'm a horticulture tutor, so I've got a number of horticulturalists on my course. They're the ones that provided the expertise. They're the ones that were able to take that kaupapa out into the community and talk to those that do that. Putting it in the ground, that was the biggest relationship. All the other stuff is, you ain't got nothing if you don't have your own people on board. So the byproduct of that is now we have people all across the globe, nationally, that want to support us to do this, whether it's in money, expertise, getting in wherever they can. The big thing, especially in the funding space, because I know there's a lot of people talking about funding, is that we're only a couple of years old, and in that growth stage, we want to keep as much of the funding in-house without any strings attached to it, because the longer we do that, the more we're able to keep for our whānau once it's pumping. So that's where philanthropists have an amazing role to play, and that's set up for us and what we're doing. We don't want them to be funding us all the way through. Like, we're about creating really strong income streams so we can become philanthropists for our own people. So that's our sustainable model of income. If we're doing it, we're not asking for handouts. We just want a hand up in that initial stage. So that's probably the most topical one, and yeah, some really good media coverage on that. Kawakawa, we're looking at taking some. Actually, all these are in nutraceutical and medical space. So we're looking at CBD and THC development in there. The regulatory environment's a little bit tight at the moment, but we like to undo tight things, so we're being managed on off. Kawakawa is quite an easy one for us to take into market, and we're right on the brink of taking that into market. Some of the stuff we've been given, advice we've been given, is get something into market. It doesn't matter what it is, show that you do. Don't talk about it. Put it into the market. So we're working on formulations and long before that's into the market. Kānuka, that's another one of our flagships, where when we set out a couple of years ago, what are our natural resources? Our people, you look around the hills and there's Kānuka everywhere. So we've got some scientists, some research, expertise into look into what was there, what's our natural resource that we can sustainably harvest, we can look after, we're not exploiting it, we're not having to plant things that don't belong there, like the pine tree, and we've got some products that we're taking for clinical trial through Kānuka. Fernroot's another one. There's some amazing opportunities medicinally. The Alkina, this one's a favourite amongst the whānau because the byproduct is all the kai. We're just after that red pigment and some properties in there that we're doing some research on. Potentially very, very, very lucrative, and yeah, a whānau like I'll learn that one because then we the cookie's where it's at. Harakeke, fibre. So we're looking at fibre in both these spaces. It's not a byproduct of hemp. And fungi. So we're working with Auckland University about growing some fungi. There's a few options there. We're looking at a product that replaces the white stuff that goes around in packaging. Yeah, replacing that. So you literally grow it into a mold. And as a medicinal, the Chinese have used a certain type of fungi for mairango, and we've got its cousin. So if we're able to crack that, wait, as far as mental inflammation. Yeah, so that's some of the stuff that we're working on. Economy bioactive. So this is the one. This is the partnership that we've created, and over here that's our local employment. It's one that been unemployed for 20 years. It was the first one that we were able to pay to get us a manukali, or kanukali, to take the extraction. We've got a still turning up this week, and they'll be setting up a still on their whenua, on the whānau whenua, and we're going to be doing collaborations here, which is CFO later on, to get some products to market. We'll see how we can do that. That's our kanuka leaf. These fellas, these scientists, so many words that we just but you've been really important. We've partnered with most of the universities and most of the research institutes in the country. It is amazing how open they are to doing stuff, because their jobs is doing stuff in that kind of environment. They don't get or know the people stuff, most of them. They just want the ability to do stuff, and they're always looking for funding. They just want to feed their kids just like us. And Te Māori is a gold mine for them, but they just can't connect. So we've been blown away in most of the things by how giving and how keen they are to get involved. So, this is our kanuka extracts, done from a CO2 supercritical extraction. And this is one of the products that we're looking at creating for cold sores. I'll get a bit more about that soon. So, this is kind of how we talked about partnering. Economy Bioactives has partnered with Honeylab. Honeylab, a mover and shaker in developing new stuff in New Zealand in the bioactive space. They're generally on the leading edge of stuff. They're the ones that have got. They're the only ones that have got the ability to do research for THC marijuana in the country. That's where they're at. They inform government on a whole lot of things. So we've snuggled in there. We've got a really good relationship, and that's all built on the corridor that we share. And they bought into our whakaaro of looking after the whānau and people. We're not about money, but we'll crack it in money because you need that so we can look after our whānau and people. So they bought into that, and they've got partnerships with Procter & Gamble, so they do Head and Shoulders and all of that stuff. They don't do a product unless it makes them 100 million. That's their minimum. So if we work it down, if we're able to get a product through to them, we're philanthropists. Pretty much. To ourselves. So that's the kind of model that we're looking at. Now to get to there, we've had support from Plant Food Research, Medical Research Institute, Land Care Research, Victoria, and Callaghan Innovation. All these people bought into the idea, bought into the karo of developing an area that has really low social, all the most negative things. And we're doing it for the people and the farming. So, you can go as big as you want, you can dream as big as you want. The doors are opening for things to happen. So. Now this is the scale. Here's us down here. Here's Honeylab, and there's Procter & Gamble. So like our phenomenal Maui, great things can happen from a small space. Maui was known all throughout the Pacific. So that's us. Fungi. So there's my twin brother that again, another really exciting space that's been made possible by some philanthropic, seeding that's allowed a little bit to happen. And because that little bit is allowed to happen, other people are now interested because they can see that there's something happening. It's not just talk, it's a little bit of walking maybe. Yeah, that photo there was my 5-year-old son was like, Papa, what are you doing today? So I'm going to Tamaki to go and see some scientists. What's a scientist? So I had to send photos all day. And when we had to send a photo through for the piece of paper, those photos, I was up in the bush and said, Mummy, all he had was. So that's why just a little note here. So we're really looking at native botanics because that's what we want to plant all our fennel back into or let it revert. How do we create income streams of that so that we don't have to have hard-hooved animals, forestry, maize on our fennel? Unfortunately, we still need to derive an income from the fennel. How do we do that with stuff that's supposed to be there? How do we do that with the korowai? So this is a Chinese company based in Tamaki. They have about a 1 acre factory. They've got one in China that's 10 times bigger than it. And guess what they're focusing on? And guess where they're not from? It's a foot race, pretty much. If we're not on it, other people are going to be on it. But with our Maori tanga, we're keeping them as close to them as possible. So we initially, they came to us about supplying them with some raw kawakawa, being a primary producer, and giving them kawakawa leaves or kanuka leaves. When I will come for a corridor, and now we just kind of make sure we're close enough to them so we understand what they're doing and where they're at, and where our competitors are at, really. They're 20 years ahead of us. But I don't think they've got any Maori whakapapa with them. So. Yeah, so this is our hemp crop that we did this year. One of my students that's been on one of my courses, one of my whanaunga, grown most of her life is to subsidise her income, so she can stay at home and look after the pakeke. We had to keep this quite secret because we're Maori people and everyone's really hotels and want to go and have a look, so we go way out the back where it wasn't going to affect everyone's crops and all that kind of stuff. And when on the day that we harvested by hand and took the community to harvest, so they can come and smell it, taste it, smoke it if they wanted to. You don't get high from it, you just get a headache. And it's to see the eyes of these people when we came over their head and to see a plantation like that for them was like, it was like a nirvana. So you really successful exceeded our expectations. No one had ever grown marijuana like this, or marijuana or hemp like this before. Usually it's done in one plant, you try to maximize the plant, poundage of it. But this was done field scale, so heaps of learnings. We're moving into a space of doing some collaborations with other Māori growers around the country. How do we work together? Because if we don't, mainstream is going to come and roll over us. So we're trying to connect to the sharp ones who are keen on the space, and how do we, as the tangata whenua, beat them at their own game. There's a green rush overseas. It's going to happen here. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So we're positioning ourselves to be right there. Because if we're not there, we're left behind. And for us, that's a big issue at home. Most of our, not most, a number of our whānau depend on that to subsidise their livelihoods. Once that black market's gone, that deprivation index increases. And so that corridor that goes to the whānau, we're actually looking after you in the future, the growers, when can we start planting up on this stuff? They often they have photos like that on social media. Yeah, so the whole whānau in all aspects. Hemp, 1,000,001 things that you can do with it. It's such an amazing plant. It was pretty much outlawed because it competed with oil. Everything used to be made from hemp. Oil industry came in. This is one for colour that's given to us. So it got illegal, and we're only seeing it starting to unfold globally now. Hemp seed oil up until last Friday was the only thing you could take to market in New Zealand. So you crush the seeds and make oil. That was legal. The regulations have changed by Australia and New Zealand, so you can make certain food products, but only some. We're looking into textiles, and like I said before, for making clothes and the likes. Not that lucrative. You can make some money out of it, but it's kind of a hard road. This is where we're focusing on at the moment, CBD medicine. So there's a lot of actives in hemp. THC gets you high, CBD gets you healthy, pretty much without the high. It's illegal in New Zealand because the regulatory environment doesn't understand it or choose not to, and it's the Ministry of Health. They put it in with THC as a psychotic. It's not psychotic. It doesn't have any of those kind of tendencies. So Maui's in there with the screwdriver with the regulatory people and the ministers going, "Oi." So that's where we're focusing. The indication we've had from overseas is that if and when we crack it, it will revolutionise the North American market because New Zealand grown hemp CBD is premium. We've had some investors from California come out. They've already been through this in California, in the States. They've already seen the green rush, and they're pretty much coming with their checkbooks. And like I said before, we want to keep it in-house. We want to keep it within whānau, within as much as we can keep here, so that we got more of the pie down the end. But in saying that, 50% of heaps is a whole lot better than 100% of nothing. So there's a balance point. And that's where the likes of philanthropists come in. Really, that's the enabling that we see that they're able to do what they've been able to provide for us, and what we see them doing for other people as well. Yep. So Hiku hemp serum. So this is something that we'll be looking forward to into the future. It's developing instead of sending away a cow that is worth that much, primary production where it hammers the whenua, we can do plants that are good for the whenua, and you send that away thousands of those in the truck rather than thousands of cows in the truck. So that's that high value stuff. We live miles away from anywhere. Man, what makes that people down? But value and owning the whole supply chain. So we go from growing to selling that direct to the consumer. And we've got more coming to us. We're not just sending away a bit of grass to be produced. This is something that's quite exciting. We're looking at to collaborate with a hundreds of whenua in Mexico, where before chewing gum was made out of synthetics, it was made out of a natural product. That whānau, or those peoples are remembering that mahi, and so we're looking at collaborating with them. Well, let's put some kānaka or some hemp additives into that to make a really healthy product, based on just getting something to market. And there's potential market for that. So, Rikurangi hemp. At the moment, we're looking in around about 200k to 2.5 million investment, and the outside of it, the back end of it is $2 to $10 million. That's the kind of scale that we're looking into. Locally, it creates employment through plant breeding, cultivation, harvesting, extraction, manufacturing, sales, and marketing. So that's how we uplift our people on the ground. They not only get jobs, but their mana increases. They're proud of doing what they're doing. They love going to work because it's something they can do legally, not to worrying about the popo coming stealing their crop or sending them to jail, which is a reality. You know? Yeah, and these are some of the streams of the different products that we're looking at. So we've got 3 products going to trial in the cannabis space currently. This is kind of a timeline of where we're at. So you start off with some published evidence. You go through the evidence, you take it to clinical trial, first phase clinical trial, which is a few people. Things look good. You take it to a bigger trial, then a bigger trial, and you can commercialize it. Bioactives is taking kānaka and the acne, eczema and anxiety we're into this space here. And these are the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that we have in that space that are ready to go. And at different stages, all those, again, have the ability to quite high income streams. A lot of it in that space is around developing IP to do that. Because IP is where, that's where the big money is, and then you start getting into the actually making the products. So, we've talked about medical products, we've talked about clinical trial, health products and medical products. That's the cost for going to medical trial, about 400 to 500K, 20 to 50K, about 50K to do natural products. So there's a big difference in the R&D and the development needs to do. However, if you look across here, that is the profit that you, that's the profit that you get from health products. There's the profit that you get from medical products. So a whole lot of our focus is in this space. Because then we own those proprietary rights and we can put that out to other people. That enables us to uplift our people with all the hikirami who are toking the stuff that's whānau based. It's not about making money, it's about all those things that most people here are trying to do. How do we fund ourselves to do it? And this is what we've come up with. You know, we've made something up and we're down the line and all the doors are swinging open. So that's where we're at. But the costs stay relatively the same. You know, the day-to-day running costs are pretty much the same. The processing facilities. Yeah. So that's our model really. We've been blessed to have J.R. McKenzie give us some support, the lottery, Russell McVeigh do our law stuff, Activate South Africa, which is our kind of local social development entity. Akina have been really, really supportive. They actually paid for our Russell McVeigh work, and they forgot to tell Russell McVeigh that they had a budget. So we ended up blowing most of the budget on the legal frameworks that we've created. Because of that, they were really happy with the end result because it's been an amazing result, and we've said that we'll make it available to anybody who wants it. We've put that's come into practice once, where it cost about 20 grand to get it done, and we've given it to some other people, and it's cost them 2 grand to take it to their lawyers and adapt it to what they need to do. So that's the ability instantly. It's, you know, every time you do it, the economies of how much that costs. So if anyone is interested in the legal stuff in behind, I'll leave some cards here where you can get hold of us. It's hard to find. ECT, Colour Innovation, have been really big in the doing a lot of the bio research in biospace, and yeah, so I guess the big thing for us is acknowledging how critical and how important the philanthropic space is for doing stuff. But more so is that we can kind of do anything at the moment. Not we as in Hikirami Enterprises, we as people. It really feels like it's a good time to be having a crack at stuff. I think it's testament in some of the forebearers of that who have laid the way that spoke this morning, and some of the people that are doing stuff. It's yeah, it makes it a pleasure to wake up in the morning and be doing the stuff that we do, and to know that there's other people in the same bucket too. You know, you don't have to look very far. Here's one. There's another one. So, ngā mihi kia koutou mō ngā mahi hui ngā waka, and yeah, look forward to seeing what unfolds into the future. More than happy to share pretty much everything that we're doing, except for the real. Yeah, that's the IP stuff. The other stuff is thinking ngā mihi kia koutou o inei rā whānui whenua mokopuna.
It's really awesome to I really like that using indigenous products and different Whanarapa, we had 10 guys in kaupapa, and they were all evident in this. They were all evident in this. So, yeah, if we had to go a sort of, neo or what, I must have more time up that way as a young Maori, especially Victoria. And so really fond memories of the place. It's really nice to hear that our whānau are great. So, enough. Okay. Oh, okay. And my boss has told me as well, I was going to introduce the next one. And our next speaker, I saw her when she came in the boy, and man, she looks familiar. I remember this young lady when she was on probably the biggest multimedia popular station amongst our rangatahi, which was my FM. Yeah, I remember her from way back in those days. She was really, really famous in our eyes. So yeah, so the first two fish and first one,
Always makes me feel really old. When someone says, oh, I remember who was on my game. So Matua is just setting up our presentation, and while he does that, I'd like you to put everything that you are holding on the ground, and I would like you to put both of your feet firmly on the ground, and then I would like you to close your eyes. Yep, have a stretch, have a little bit of a fresh air break. Then when you're ready, take a seat, put down on the phone, bags. And then if you can all close your eyes. No mai e hine ki te ao tūroa ato tūpuna a tāne nui a rangi. I tiki ai ki roto i mātangira ia i o matangaro. I roto o rangi a pea e whatana. Mauria mai nei ko te ke te tua uri, ko te ke te tua tea, ko te ke te aronui e hine e. Te ara tia tia i he ai tiro te tipua, ka ke noa tērā i te ara taiepa, te kite, te aha. Ko ia tarahau o ngā puhi o ngā rangi e hine e. Ka kauea mai e tāne nui a rangi e ngā whatukura ki roto o whare nui nei whata ana te wānanga e hine e. Ka waiho he au marama ki tai au nei e hine e. Ko ia I tipu ai te tarahau, te hinanga. Ngā. Tau ke ati nuku, tau ke ati rangi I kone e hine e. Ka kutia te pō, ka kutia te ao, ko te pairangi tēnei e hine e. Ko ia noho ai I tāne, ia hine tītama I kone e hine e. Ka timata tia te pō, ka timata te ao, ti hei wā mauri ora. Okay, you can open your eyes. That is a beautiful and ancient chant that comes out of Ngāpuhi. And in the chant, what we are told is, "O woman, come forth into the world of light and bring with you the baskets of knowledge." The baskets of knowledge that contain all of the knowledge in the heavens and all of the knowledge on earth and everything that is within them. And bring forth these baskets of knowledge that we retrieved, that we received by Tāne Matua. Ka waiho he au marama ki tai au nei e hine e. Ko ia tarahu o ngā puhi o ngā rangi e hine e. Bring them forward who was gifted them from ill, who was hidden from our view. That the seeking, that the desiring may take place, that when man and woman come together, they will have the baskets of knowledge to impart to their prosperity, such that their puri may achieve excellence and greatness. Kia eke ki tōna taumata, that it may attain to the excellence of its being, or its authentic existence. My kaupapa today that I'm talking about is urutapu, and our vision for the young women on our program is that they will strive for the excellence of their being, for their authentic existence, is what our ancestors called it. My name is Vishane Patuwai. I'm married to Tamati, and I work for Mad Community Trust. So, for those of you who know him, and some of you may or may not, Simon Sinek, who is world-renowned for leadership. He has an amazing TED Talk, and if you haven't heard it or seen it, you should. It's called Start With Why. And Simon Sinek says there are leaders and there are those who lead. Those who lead have the ability to inspire us. We follow them not because we have to, but because we want to. So for us, that is very, very important. You always say start with your why. And Tamati and I the other day were driving around GI, we live in GI. We were talking about life and love and mahi, and all of them are synonymously existing in the same place, and the complexity of that. And I said to him, you know, baby, we roll around with all these flash Māoris, you know, like we're around these flash wāmana, you know, the whānau's awesome. And I said, it struck me. It struck me. The more that I find myself in beautiful, amazing environments such as this, that sometimes I lose sight of the reality for our people. And I was at a CSI recently, and some very learned woman, I think it was Fiona Craig, said that the truth often sits outside the room. And so I would like to begin with our why. Boom. I'd like to begin with our why. This is Matthew Hereata. He was a tiny 14 kgs, and he was 2.5 years old when he was murdered at the hands of his mother's boyfriend. He died 2 hours within her leaving for mahi from their whare. And he was described as a beautiful, energetic and fun boy. When the police asked Huata about his horrific injuries that he died from, he said, I think it was when he was walking down the corridor banging his head on the corridor. 2 weeks ago, at the sentencing of Huata, his mother was 4 months hapu to Tomehana Huata, the man who killed Matthew. As the proliferation, I'm from Werewa. I'm born and bred Tinota girl. Yeah. I'm from Tinota. I'm from Werewa, also known as Motown or Tunatown. And you know, the proliferation of gangs as they recruit our sons, our daughters, our nieces, and nephews. I'm also from Whakauru. It's terrifying. As the synthetic drugs and the pee run rampant in our communities and turn our babies and our rangatahi into the walking dead is what it's been described as. We're doing awesome, amazing work, and yet our efforts seem futile. It's estimated that 10,000 tamaraki this year alone will be impacted because their parents are in lockdown, and it is devastating to me. It is devastating to me that Wahine Māori suffer as the highest victims of domestic violence in our country. Our babies go to a beautiful kura in Te Ukutoia. And Puo Te Mananui Akiwa, it's a beautiful kura. 2 weeks ago, one of the tauira, beautiful young woman was living in Perth, Tukulai. It's 21. So that is our why. The truth sits outside the room. You see, and sorry, I'm just referring to my notes because I have a tendency to waffle on, so I'm just going to refer to my notes every now and again. Because look, whānau, here's the thing, despite investing millions, having more Māori university graduates than any other time in history, having access to new information, new technology, new knowledge at an unprecedented rate, more representation in Parliament, the impact that we are having is not slowing the tide. The truth sits outside the room. And you know, whānau, I also want to say that I feel extremely humbled to be here. I feel extremely humbled to be here. That the work that I have heard has just been amazing and inspiring and incredible. But on the real, I'm from Moerewa, we live in GI, and it's a blessing that we are in the middle of it. So for us at Mere Community Trust, leadership is much more than a strategic objective to improve performance. It is much more than a strategic imperative to raise the bottom line. It is an essential intervention. It is an essential intervention at every single echelon within Te Ao Māori. We are committed to activating leadership within whānau, having our dads be amazing role models for our sons, having our wahine stand strong and be beautiful and be incredible role models for our daughters. And we're excited about leadership on the marae, we're excited about leadership in Runanga, we're excited about iwi, Parliament, all of that, but we are most excited about grassroots leadership, especially in whānau, because as we know, the whānau is central to the health and well-being for Te Ao Māori and for society, actually. So my kōrero today is entitled Uru Tapu, a Return to the Sacred. So Uru Tapu is a 2-year leadership program for taumāhine Māori between the ages of 16 to 19 that whakapapa to Tāmaki Makaurau and Kaitokira. So the name Uru Tapu. My husband, who's down the back, he's actually really brilliant and good looking. Was the one who gifted us a contract. You know, when we were thinking about Uru Tapu, right? He said that should be the name. And Uru Tapu comes from the story of Ruahine. And Ruahine was coming back from Taranaki from her father's people. And she was coming back to stand on the hill Taurere in Te Ukutoia, which is on the mountain behind our house. And she stood on the mountain and she was around 16 to 17 years old. And she sang a beautiful moteatea that honoured her mother. It was a rite of passage and a time for her to come home. A beautiful young puhi. And he said, that is what you should call your program. And I went, I don't know. That's me, right? Trying to get it off, yeah. And then so that is how we got the name Uru Tapu. So when we break down the word, Uru means to hold fast. Uru, to enter. Ta and tapu, greatness. Pu, root, origin, source. Uru tapu, to enter, hold fast, enter and hold fast to the source of your greatness. To enter and hold fast to the source of your greatness is what the name of our program means and is. So in Te Ao Kohatu, Māori lived the science of tapu. They knew it, they understood it, they taught it, and they lived it to ensure the longevity, the success, and the well-being of our people. It was a science. And we continue that tradition within Urutapu. So the aspirational vision we have for every young woman who comes on our program, and we only have 10. We have a very small group of young Māori leaders that we work with. The aspirational vision that we have for them is e kore au e ngaro he kākano ahau I ruia mai I rangi āpea. I am a seed that shall never be lost, for I descend from the uppermost heaven rangi āpea. It is our birthright to be joyful and abundant, to strive, excel, and prosper. It's the reason each of us is here, and we believe is the very purpose of our existence. So that is our moimoia, that's our ha manawa for every young woman who comes onto our program. So within our kaupapa, our priority, or one of our priorities, is the restoration of tapu as a tool for transformative living and leading. Leadership to us is synonymous. We need leaders who say it and do it. We need leaders who say it and be it. Otherwise, our people will hear our leaders say it and then they'll follow them around the back. It's going to have, no longer sufficient. Not with the issues that we are dealing with. We need leaders who are being it. Next slide, thank you. So this is our social change model. It's based on ngā kite o te wānanga. And you will see that the tamahine on our program, the Urutapu Kaimahi and whānau, are equally responsible for the self-actualization of every young woman who comes onto the program. We realise that they're amazing long before we meet them. We realise they will be amazing long after they leave us. So, to say it really, really simply, what we do at Urutapu is that we teach our young women to honour and live their tapu. We teach them to utilise wairua. We ask them to remember who they really are. We ask them to reflect and think about the leaders that they descend from. We ask them to do that. Is that behaviour reflective of Pine Amaru? Is that behaviour reflective of Te Puia? That's who you are. We ask our young women to do that, and we also ask our young women to have the courage to live and lead from a foundation of authentic truth, correct principles, and core values. That is what our social change model is designed to do. Said simply, if you look at it, it's a return to the sacred. Said simply. As I said earlier, our purpose is one of self-actualization. And look, the other thing I want to say is we're very early. We're in our infancy stages. So we're funded by Foundation North, and we've been going for 6 months with our first cohort. We've been going since July. So we're still very much in the prototyping, testing, trying out, refining, pivoting, having a look at, figuring it out. But what we say is that we exist for self-actualization, and that as these young women using our kite o te wānanga discover their purpose, live their passion, and fulfill their aspirations, self-actualization naturally occurs. So for us, self-actualization is the reason you are here. We don't really have conversations about our career pathway with our young women. We say, you're here for a reason, to do something very special that only you can do. And our job is to help you discover and honour that gift. As you can imagine, they're 16 to 19. They're like, yeah. Right? So it doesn't come without its challenges. But that is the context of our work. You have that conversation with your career advisor at school. We want to have a much larger conversation. We want to have a meaningful, intentional conversation with you. You are gifted, you are what our grandmothers sang about. You are what we dream about and what we cry about and what we hold in our hearts is the greatest hope. Why? Because you will teach our babies. We believe that as tamahine understand the knowledge, the principles, and the practices within each kete that they will unleash and access the greatest potential. Urutapu is about real world learning. That's one of the cool things about what we do. We believe that our tamahine will learn about leadership by being it and doing it, not necessarily by studying it out of a book. Most of them are on their way to university, you'll get that there. Let's provide a testing ground for you to try it out, and you will discover what the gaps are. You will discover what leadership is for yourself. You will discover what that looks like for you that is authentically aligned to your purpose, your passion, and your aspiration. So these are two young women on our program. This is a whakatauki that was given by Matua Hirewini Jones. Tō manawa e kura tōku manawa. It was said by Nuku Tawhiti when he came into Hokianga and he said a karakia to get his waka through there. And he said, with my heart and your heart, we will do the business. And that is a whakatauki that the girls hold on to. Kotahitanga is very big at Urutapu. So I just want to share, again, we're quite new. So the new kids on the block, I just want to share a couple of our outcomes that we are having, both on the program and that our young women are achieving. So this here, sorry, just before I launch into it, one of the fundamental things at Urutapu that our tamahine do is they have to plan, implement and evaluate a community project. Again, real world learning. Let's activate the leadership now, not in 3 years after you teach your degree. Let's do it now. Let's empower you and enable you now to make a difference. So we have community projects that they have to do. It's threefold. It has a threefold purpose. One, it has to activate your own leadership. You have to run it. You have to plan it. Then you've got to evaluate it. Secondly, part of the first goal of the community projects is it has to activate leadership beyond themselves. So they have to have other rangatahi involved. Secondly, it has to respond to a local need for the rangatahi in that community. Thirdly, it has to align with their purpose, their passion, and their aspirations. It has to be an expression of that. So this is Drive It. This is Te Rauaroha, she's 17, she's from Tiki in Whangarei. And this is Mehara, she's 19, she's from OT. OT in Whangarei. If you don't know OT, it's like Werewa GI like that. So these are two tamahine on our program, and they decided to do Drive It because they looked at all the research and they found that the fatality rate of rangatahi Māori and Taipukira was astronomical, unacceptable. So they said to me, Auntie, we're going to do Drive It. It's about reducing the fatality rate of rangatahi and Taipukira. That's a bit of a stretch, girls. How about? I'm like, no. It's our kaupapa, thank you. So they planned it, they organised it, they wrote their proposal. All our girls have to write their proposal, their budget. They then approached the police, the Whangarei police. They came on board to help facilitate. They approached my FM, they came on board, they enrolled their principal to have it at Tiki Punga High School, and then they enrolled about 150 to 200 students to attend. So you'll see here we had it at lunchtime, and they also asked Magic Paola, who is a tamahine role model, to come up. So she drove from Hamilton with her baby all the way out because she believed in the kaupapa. And it was amazing and it was awesome. The police said to us, would you think about letting us work in partnership with the girls to roll this out across Taipukira? It was like, how much money you got? And they were like, heaps. So you know what they love? Here's what he said. This is powerful because it comes from this community and these young women. We're not saying it. They're saying it. Now, I took the girls out to dinner. I went up to help. I don't know, I think I was like holding the chairs or, I was like the ringa winner. I took the girls out to dinner the night before the event and I said, okay, what are our key messages, girls? Very important key messages. Okay, they're going to be across my, very important. If you drive drunk, you'll die. So I've worked in communications for 20 years, right? And I was like, okay, we'll just reframe it or something. And you know, I was amazed because they said, why? If you don't talk to us like that, we won't get it. I was like, see my dad, I'm old. Okay, are you sure it's not too hard out? They're like, no. So that was our key message. And you know what? I was like, and the kids, you know, the kids responded to it. So we had a big concert in the middle of the school, and then what happened was we had 60 seniors come and do one-on-one with the police. So this was an amazing event. So this young woman here, she's awesome, dropped out of school at 14. She's a formidable force. She is she's 6'4", Ngāti Wai, Nasi. So, dropped out of school at 14. This year, put herself back into school with people potential in whāngai, got her level 1s, got her level 2s, has just got her level 1s at Wānanga o Aotearoa, is passionate about politics and law. She's just gotten on to the Whangarei Youth Council. She was, I don't know if Auntie Moy's in here, but Auntie Moy asked her to provide some leadership around the development of the 25-year Ngāpuhi Art Strategy. And she's also just been accepted onto the Future Leaders Program, which is a part of Inspiring Stories. Amazing. This is Te Rau Aroha. She's 17. So this kaupapa won an award at the New Zealand Youth Awards at Parliament. And they recognised this particular kaupapa because of its impact around community safety and leadership for youth by youth. So this is her at Parliament beside Nikki Kay. Yeah, Nikki Kay, and she was asked to speak. So about 6 people received the awards, and only one could speak. And Te Rau Aroha was the one to speak on this particular kaupapa. This is one other project that I'd like to share with you. So this is a community event. Here's what's really cool about it. Here's what's really cool about it. This is Materoa. She's from Moeroa. She's one of 8. Materoa would not normally be picked for a leadership program. She's not particularly academic. She's not very loud. She's not a public speaker. But for us, at the age of 16, having the ability to run a wharepai on your own with 100 people under you, stand up and do the karanga at the front of the marae, and having a deep passion for your marae is leadership. So she's one of the girls on our program. She is fresh as, man. I have to be careful who I let her loose on because she's so fresh. So my Materoa event was about reconnecting rangatahi with their roots. And she created the Great Race. And she had to go and pitch her idea to Auntie Moy and the Ahuarika community. The Ahuarika is the prominent festival in Ngāti Hine. And she went forward and she pitched her idea in all its glory. And they said, we love you too. So she did an event, and this is then out the front of Porowini, which is our whare tūpuna. And we had 60 to 70 rangatahi participate. And her activity was things like, what are the name of the pou in the wharenui? What's the name of the teko teko? How did the tree tōtara trees get their name? Who helped to design it? Who carved our whare tūpuna? And by the end of it, the rangatahi were great. Like they were running everywhere, interviewing kaumātua and kuia, dancing on the stage, doing, you know, just a whole lot of stuff. Here's what's remarkable about this event. Every marae across the motu is asking how we engage our people when they go out. We want to know 2 things. We want to know how do we engage rangatahi meaningfully, and we also want to know when they move out of Hokainga like me, I live in Chiai, how do I reconnect to home? I said to Materoa, you're doing that. Your project is doing that. Now, I was really excited. I was like super excited, and she was like, yeah. Yeah, of course. And I said, if you crack the code, every marae, every iwi, every hapu is trying to find out how to do what you were doing. She was like, well, that's a bit queer, right? Amazing, though, amazing. So I said to her, when you get heaps of money from all these flash drives, you better reinvest it in Huri Kapu. So these are our young women. These are just some of our young women. We do lots of collaborative work. So we've just come back from a haringa where we visited with Ako up in Kaikohe and worked with the rangatahi. This is Natalia. Natalia's just been participating in the Masters Games. This is Matua Hirwini Jones, who we brought in to do kaupapa Māori. This is Tui. Tui just won the First Foundation Scholarship. She's 16, she's not even in her final year when she won it. Mehara Uira, and this is Diva. Last night, in closing, last night my husband and I were getting ready to come up and we stayed in Wellington. And I thought to myself, what an amazing privilege. What a sacred space to be able to empower and enable our young women using mātauranga Māori, to have them be proud, to have them lead with integrity, to have them live it or don't do it. Girls, don't do it. I call Urikapu my magnificent obsession. And my husband will vouch for that. I can see him just, kia ora. I'm so passionate about unleashing the innate potential and gifts of our young Māori women, because I know that it will be like a ripple effect. And I know that leadership is an intervention that will allow us to do that in our families, in our schools, on our marae, in our boardrooms, and in all of the other places that we get to stand. My widow is that we all take up the challenge to live tikanga that is conducive to great leadership. Is it easy? No. Is it worth it? Yes. Do we deserve it? Absolutely. Kia ora tātou katoa.
I mea atua, whaki atua te whatanui. Pāna ki te tōtara, he whaki atu ki rau te whenua, ki roti te whenua. E kore koe tāe ki te ngā mea ki rau te whenua, ka tāe koe ki te rākau, e tāe koe tāe ki te ngā mea ki rau ki te whenua. Ko tō tātou nei, te te o ngā whainga nei, te pāngai pai i e nei tōtara, kia tuku pai ake. Rina me he kia kōturu, tūru tapu, and he kāre mui, kāre whaka tēnei.
We know time's pressing really hard on us. It's hot on our health, but I just need to say we've been asked to remind you that the dining room is across the way here, where you would have gone to your afternoon dinner out across here, the big dining room here, where you go past one kaha, you see all the windows and it'll be fully lit up for you. And our last speaker, I just wanted to add here that it says here, Deirdre Orte leads the Moko Foundation, a charitable trust established by Dr. Lance Sullivan, who will also be speaking tonight. Deirdre is an Auckland University Top Scholar Award recipient, alumni of the Leadership New Zealand program, a Vodafone Fellowship recipient, and is currently completing research on intergenerational change through leadership development in Indigenous settings. That leadership thing keeps returning to us. Deirdre Orte.
nei, ko mai mohura, ki ngā kura, ngā mate haere. Kia kaita ngā mana whinua no punai, ki ngā tinihi auha kia kaita, ko kaita manaakitanga kia mātai, I haere mai ki roto I te katopa I tēnei rā. Tēnei ki mihi nui, kia kaita hoki anō, mō ngā whānau no Wiwi, no Wawa, hoki, tēnei ki mihi nui, tā tātou katoa. Anei, hau I tū mai, he ui a hau no maunga taniwha, te maunga ka tāpaka te awa, hoki a whakapākara kia te moana ngā sukumata whare o te waka, rahi me pōro ngā tūpuna, ngā kuhi me te raroa ngā hapu, ko hatu taka tūru māpui ngā aroha mai, ngā kuhi te raroa ngā iwi, ko hatu taka tūru māpui ngā hapu, Mana moka te warae ngā kuhi ko whare tūpuna, kuhi whare ki kuhi moana ki kuhi whare wharae. I whio tēnei ahau, ko ai te māma o tīri rau ko te mana maingarangi, ara hoki ko tōku mahi, no tōku kāngangi, no me te tōku tūranga waiwai, no te nota, no te hokianga, no muri whenua hoki, no ngā kuhi hoki anō, ki roto I te kaipapa o the Foundation. Kia ora rā, I am from Ngāpuhi in Te Raroa, in the far north. Born and raised under the maunga of Maunga Taniwha. My life source is tāpapa, my river is tāpapa. My tupuna arrived on the Hokianga, came to the Hokianga, and my hapu are Puhasutaka and Turu Māpui. I am that, my mum and dad are that, and they're not related, well they probably are. Born and raised on our Turama Waiwai, and born and raised in Te Kohangareo on our marae, educated as a ringawera in the back of our marae, washing dishes and scrubbing pots, and nurturing those who came to our marae to mourn, to celebrate, and that was me, that was my life. Raised by many, but more importantly, my grandmother, who was a weaver, and part of my biography states that all of my learning comes from that, from the art of weaving, the art of hard work, the art of not having a lot monetarily, but having a lot of whānau that raised us. And then went on to kura at Manamuka and on to Kaita College, so a bit of a bilingual education, but was raised with tikanga and mātauranga of our land and our people, and was a teenage mum, so I had a baby. My baby was really young, so we went through the stereotypical judgments that brings with it in life. Went on to university. My sister and I were head girls at our school and destined for greatness. And then I had a baby, and I was destined for real greatness. So my role as a mother, and we talk about whenua, has always been the epiphany of what I want to do, and this is where I still am at the moment. I'm raising a teenage daughter and youth development, and my son is he's 12, and he's a big 12. He was born 12 pounds, by the way. So he's my big giant, and they're my reasons for being. We talk about our reason for what we do. And 12 months ago, I had the greatest opportunity to move home, to my homeland, little my dad's garage, just put that out there, and lead the Walker Foundation. The Walker Foundation was seeded by Dr. Lance Sullivan and his wife Tracy, as a result of them having enough of seeing poverty of children, poverty of young people, undiagnosed medical sicknesses that no one was doing anything about. Like, that's just how it is. That's why they created it. Lance is a GP, was a GP at the local hospital, and there was just not enough resource to help these babies. So he started taking some of them home, like they already have 7 children, and then they'll have 10. And because you just have this heart, and that's who we are, as whatever you want to call us, Indigenous people, but people of the land, and have a heart for children and young people, and that's what they did. And so they started this foundation, and then he wanted to support more young people into more leadership opportunities, education opportunities, but more importantly, he wanted to support Māori, because, and he'll talk about this, that his journey into where he was not an easy one, and it was only because of opportunities that other people gave him that allowed him to work hard get to be a Māori doctor. So we had the privilege of once in this whānau moving to the whānau and caring for our whānau. My aunties, my uncles, my dad, the nannies will talk about this Māori doctor who looks after them, you know, and it's this little bit extra that he does, and the foundation was created on that. So basically, the foundation was created on aroha, however your interpretation of that is. The transliteration is love, but it's a bit more than that. It's a deep, deep, meaningful feeling inside to want to manaki or care for those, not just less fortunate than you, but those who are you. So to care for children, young people, and whānau within Aotearoa, that's our scope. To kaha, so not just strong, like as in, you know, like that, but have been courageous, to be disruptive in spaces that continue to do the same thing over and over again and get the same result. To be honest and truthful and tika and pono, and we all raised into that, you know, do it right, be transparent, be accurate, and then the outcomes will come. And whakawhanaingatanga, so work together. And if you're an auntie, I'll be honest, because I am one, we don't always do that. So we're like that catalyst outside of every politics and dynamics. That's what I'll do this week as can, and I'm just like that. I said, all my whānau have just presented, that's the reality, that's where we're at. See, and even the government departments laugh, because it's not easy. So we've got the ability to do that, and we say, you know, like, Lance has the, you know, New Zealand of the year, he's a beautiful Māori man, him and Tracy do amazing mahi, and I'm the home girl, so he's like, up to go talk to Ngāti Kiri and Te Raroa. But that's how I was raised, so I can do that, and I love to do that, and I'm just honest and straight and say, these are our outcomes. We want to increase education attainment, and we want to do it well, so we want more Māori doctors, nurses running our healthcare system. We don't just want, you know, admin, but you know, that should go, but you know, we want to make sure that, you know, if there's opportunities for our people to be doctors, that we're bloody there, we have every support around them to make sure that. And you can tell I'm moved home because my slang is like I was in a mess, but like, what's that? I'm like, oh. And leadership, so you know, we're gonna have the best resettlement process, because our young people are going to leave that, and I have no doubt about that, because that's my generation, and I'll ensure that that happens. It's my dying will, you know. Those are the people that we live and breathe for, so we can't be half-pied, or we can't put ourselves in a governance position if we don't know what the heck we're doing. So that's my goal, and that's what we're doing, and I'll give you some examples. Pretty much the presentation that I'll develop is outcomes of how we're doing that, and then health. Health is a big one for us, because we need all the inequalities. South of whānau, that's us. Highest inequalities in health, we lead them. So if that's an opportunity, man, we've got the biggest at the moment. So it's the reality, and you know, the health system that we live in at the moment is not doing justice to our people. So we need to change that up. And our dream and aspiration is that we will have a research and innovation hub in Kaitaia, and we will have a health system owned by our people, run by our people, just like the one that's in Alaska. So those are our aspirations, and I'll show you how we're going to get there, because we are. And if we're not, well, so I'm going to show you some videos of some of the examples of the mahi that we're doing. So I've been home for 12 months. When I started, we had half a strategic plan. We had my role supported for 3 years, and we had me and PA. And whew, we've come a little bit of a long way now. So we've got a leadership and mentoring program supported by the Ministry of Youth Development and Foundation Law, which will see us take 20 young people through a leadership program that connects them with the top leaders in their chosen career path and aspiration. So if they want to be a doctor, Lance will be their mentor. If they want to work in finance, Joe at KPMG will be their mentor. If they want to do crazy stuff like me and lead NGOs, then I'll be their mentor. And we've got 20 young people that we're going to move in the next 12 months. At the end of this week, 10 of them will be attending the Māori Business Awards, opening their eyes and inspiring and motivating them to the possibilities that are outside of the po of where they live at the moment, and it's the reality. So we want to show them excellence. We've taken 6 young people on overseas experiences in the last 12 months. The Silicon Valley, because they have interest in IT and information technology development. I took 2 young people with me to Alaska, New York, Hawaii, and Silicon Valley, we returned last week. All of this is because they deserve those opportunities to see that what they have the ability to do. Some people might say, like, how do you do that? And we just do it. So we just, when we see an opportunity, so we attract supporters, philanthropics, funders, and donors who have hearts like all of you to want to do good. They just haven't quite had the place to put their support. So we are that, and we be that, and we've created that in the last 12 months. And I'll show you how we're doing that. The other piece of work, so we're just launching a mobile innovation hub. So we're big on connecting young people with opportunities globally through digital technology, especially in our isolated communities. So we pitched this week, sat around the table one day, and we had this idea of having like this van that would go up to Taupo and Cole, out to Whangaroa and Kairo, and out to Intamangaloka and Manukaupu, where I'm from, and then out to Mitimiti and Pauling, where no one goes. And no one goes to support those communities because it's too isolated or it's too hard. So I was like, I want to have this mobile bus. My family used to own buses when I was little. So we want to have this mobile bus, and inside it, we want IT, digital technology. We want an expert in whakapapa who can connect those kids, and they can learn te reo me on a tikanga as the bus goes into their communities. And we want to have our mobile app, which does health checks and instant healthcare assistance, and we want that. And we want these kids to have coding wānanga, app development wānanga, and we drew it all up. And then I went to Vodafone Foundation, and they've supported it for 3 years. So we're going to be launching that in like 4 weeks. So we've got lots going on. Caroline is in the back there, and some of our whānau from home. So Caroline will lead our mobile innovation hub. She's amazing. We're working in Kaitaia doing youth work, building social enterprise, and so we hired her last week, and she's my first fighting today. And because we have got amazing people in Far North who can do this stuff, and we're going to do it. We just needed someone to connect the dots. So we're doing that. So our leadership program, mobile innovation hub, and our health hub. So we have MRSA. We have the highest rates of MRSA in the country. So MRSA, I'll show you a video because I can't quite pronounce the long word in Lance can, but it's a strep. So it's created in hospitals as a result, and then it becomes resistant to antibiotics. Yeah. So we had a research student sit with in the foundation last year. She's from Whakatane too. She's a Sarich from Waimati. She came back and done a placement with us, and she did some research around the eradication of MRSA. We took it to Auckland University. They approved it, and then we wrote a program around MRSA, and I piloted it when we started, and we've eradicated MRSA from 64 homes in Whakatane. And within those homes, there's like 15 or 10 at least people living within those homes, because those are the conditions that create MRSA. So we're a driver of the MRSA project, and at the end of July, I'll present to the DHB to say, why have you not even looked at this as an issue? Why do kids continue to go back to hospital until they have to have IV drips put in them for 2 weeks, which costs the hospital $600 a day? Yeah. You need to support us to eradicate this from Tautoko. It's like a pest. It's like those possums that run down around here. It's like that, and no one's doing anything. So MRSA, and I'll show you some of the results we've got from that. And then the second project is anemia. So we have high rates of anemia in Tautoko. So anemia, insufficiency of iron, low blood count, and I'll just my way of doctor's or the clinical information. I just need the project to get the money and drive the people to do it. So we have anemia, but what that does is that the long-term outcomes is that we have high depression rates. We have kids, our babies that are in kohanga that are not learning, and then they go to kura, and then the teachers are like, these kids are not motivated, what's wrong? So we've got a device that we've just won a sponsorship from a company in Silicon Valley that does an invasive blood testing. So babies don't have to be pricked. So it's a device, and it's like $15,000. So they've allowed us to be the first pilot in New Zealand to measure blood counts. And our kaimahi that are running the MRSA program will go on top of that into every kohanga reo and early childhood centre and measure for anemia. And then we will provide folic acid and the appropriate kai into those kohanga reo. And to overcome this current generation of low anemia rate. So that's the kind of crazy disruptive mahi we're doing. And the outcomes of that are, we're going to change a generation within Tōkiro. And we've got iwi who don't usually want to work with anybody, saying, look, man, if you can come up and do this for us and provide the outcomes, we will partner with you. And we're all about that, because that's who we are. We're part of that. So I spent this weekend just gone up in Asikiri, learning about the whakapapa of Whaia Sana Murray, who wrote this poem, which further inspired me to feel that the mahi I do is worthwhile. So she was the first claimant on Y262 for Act, and because I just, and the whānau shared this with me, because they went, you're going to bring this mobile innovation hub into Te Kawa Tāpua. You have a heart for our people, and we have a whakapapa that is connected. This is something we want to share with you, and it sort of warms my heart, and I thought it would be appropriate to share this today. So it's safe. It's a message. This is before she started the claim. She wrote this. A message for youth, for the Māori youth and all youth struggling to voice their views for New Zealand progress. I believe if you're old enough to fight and die for these principles, you're old enough to govern by these same principles, regardless of your race. And you don't have to wait till you're a senior citizen to be eligible, for it's the flower of youth that paid the price of New Zealand's freedom in the past and must still pay the price into the future. Why then must you remain under overseas monopoly and overseas rule and remote control when your blood of our ancestors' blood cried out for our nation? God gave us the knowledge to survive centuries before European colonisation, and we can do so now by peaceful means. And Māori Aroha tramping up the evil and greed of money monopoly in this country, which was bestowed to our ancestors' freedom. So she wrote that before she wrote the claim for 1262, and it warms my heart, fills my eyes with tears, because I believe that that's the pathway that allows us to do the mahi we do. We don't have to wait, we can't wait. We have to do it now. I moved home 12 months ago. I was home for 4 weeks. We had 5 gang home suicides in our community of Kaitaia. My cousin was murdered in Whangarei. So gang murder, we have young people, we have the highest suicide rate. We can't wait for anything. We have to do it now. And this is the mahi that we do every day. So it's heartwarming and it is a job, but it's my destiny that I've chosen to lead by, and I love it. And I'll show you some of the other people that we're working with. So before I'm a Vodafone fellowship recipient, so I was supported by Vodafone to travel around America, and I thought that was quite tokenistic that I travelled on my own, so I seeked out funding to take young people, and the way that we chose young people to come was that I got them to do videos and post them on Facebook, and had a bit of a competition so that they could show why they felt they were ready to come. Man, I could have taken a plane load, I tell you. But this is one of our girls that
Ohago po te maunga, kura hoki te waka, Haringa te moana, Ngāti Piri te iwi. Hello, my name is Ashley Whiteway, student office on this unit. I'm the eldest great granddaughter of Sama Whiteway Murray, the original white specifically claimant of Ngāti Piri. And this is my role here, Te Tika, based on the spirits of light and return to our sacred homeland. Our tribe, Ngāti Piri, are the guardians of this place. We are the protectors of free biodiverse ecosystems. One of them is a World Marine Sanctuary around our islands, Anitago, also known as the Kermadec Islands. This is where our Whananga Wānanga series comes into play. The purpose of these Wānanga are to establish relationships between world-renowned scientists, botanists, and marine biologists who already work in our whenua. Through hosting these specialists, we've been able to uphold tikanga and share our indigenous methods of conservation. We want to be strong, vibrant, and sustainable. We see that happening by bringing together others in the use of technology and innovation as a way to reclaim our whakapapa, restore our mātauranga, and rejuvenate ourselves as a iwi.
So that's our Hine for Ashley, and here she came with us to around America, and we were at the Native Alaskan Institute, and she spoke of the legacy left to her by her grandmother to continue the work of the claims and restoration of the land, and how she wanted to start an eradication project in Ngāti Piri, and we spent the weekend writing her application to do that. So that's her destiny, and that's what she will do. So that's amazing to be part of that. And she's clever as. And when I first met her, I was like, Ash, what are you doing? She goes, oh, they come. And I was like, what else do you do? Oh, duck season soon. Babe, you need a bit more than that. Oh, no, I'm doing youth work. She's like, we do this mean slide stuff. And she started talking about this. And I was like, that's it. Yeah. So that's cool. And then this other, the other young person that I took is, oh, he's cool. His life could have been a whole lot different. And he'll talk about that again. Oh, he's gone. Mine. Okay.
Upbringing. We've moved 4 times, but we had settled down in Honolulu. This is where I've been raised. As a child, I was raised up around a lot of alcohol, drugs, and violence. And as a teenager, I started to get into the world. I was a youth and also slash group. There were some pretty hard spots. And it had a really large impact on our life. Like seeing my mates get stabbed at parties. Just one morning I just woke up from it, had enough. So I left my past life behind. With hard work at school, I brought a passion for the medical health sector. And with Dr. O'Sullivan as my role model, I see the world as my oyster. So in the future, I see myself working here, going back to my community, my people, giving them a more healthy and sustainable future.
He came with us to America as well, and he's currently doing an internship at the foundation, and he will go to Unitech in July to do his foundation course to get into medical school. So, and I talked about stuff with him, I was like, why do you guys keep helping me? No one's ever helped me. And I'm like, oh. woman. Always teary with the work that I do because, you know, I'm like, and just the smallest things, you know, like kakapu or stuff like that. I don't want to share his life, but, you know, and he comes to work and he's like, oh, I need a bike so that I can get to work all the way from Olamide. I'm like, damn, boy, that's ages. But he'll do what it takes to get to work. And he's going to go to Auckland University. He's going to be a doctor. Like, he just has it in there. And his biggest fear of losing home is that he's worried about his brothers and sisters that he's going to leave there. Because before he came to America, he was working at KFC. They worked at KFC in Kaitaia, and that was going to be his life because he had to support his siblings. That was going to be his life, and he worked at KFC day in and day out without a miss. And when he went to go and get leave, he went to tell the man at KFC, I've won this opportunity to go to America with the Moku Foundation. And I'm like, sorry, you can't leave. I was like, what? And so we're like, are you sure? You know, and he's like, yeah, they use my leave, I can't come. I was like, damn, boy, you're going to come work here, you're going to leave that job at KFC, there's like a lot more opportunities out there. He's like, I have to work, I've got to support my family. And I understood that too. So, you know, those are the kind of dynamics you have to be able to work in, whilst ensuring that we can attract the support to continue to support this muscle. Yeah, that's how boy puts it. And I could show you lots, but I bet you everyone's hungry. So I'm going to wrap up just by saying that, you know, we all have passions in our lives and you know, work that we do, but it's the reason we do them that makes them sustainable. That's what I believe. Our sustainability model, like I've written a few investment plans and all that kind of stuff, and like, you know, you've got to do it. Our sustainability model is for the land and for the people, and that's it. You know, we'll sustain that, and however we attract the support to do that will be our world that we've been born to do. So our model is that you'll hear about it at dinner. Dr. Lund talked about IFIPlive and the business arm of the foundation that we look to still continue to assist and help young people in whānau, but also create a profitable income that will sustain the work we do for the foundation generations come. So, Muri tēnā, tēnā mihi te mihi atu ka tātou katoa. Ngā whānau hoki, ino tui te kaupapa o tēnei o hoki, tēnei te mihi au tātou.
You've got that one, we can't wait for them, we've got to do it for ourselves, and that attitude became obvious through the people that you the clips that you showed us. Also, you quoted about raising up the generation in such a quick time. As I'm watching it, I'm like, John, I think she's going to do it. I really believe you're going to do it. And what really inspires me is that I know the places you're talking about, and they really are isolated. They're way out of the boondocks. And the fact that someone can make a difference there, they can inspire somebody to go to med school. My child went to med school and she came from Little on Matawaya. So, you know, I know that story, I believe that story, and yes, he's definitely going to make it there. So we'd like to thank you as well. Thank you very much. Look, these listeners can possibly express how thankful we all are for all the goodwill that we shared. And I know that it's networking time now, but I'm also aware that there are some questions some people have, some burning ones I've got no doubt. And if there are any questions that people would like to field now, speak now or forever hold your peace. Here we go.
I did pause to ask questions, but I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to make a couple of comments. What an inspirational group of presenters. Just absolutely inspirational. You know, from the places where you come from and your heart going back to your whānau and your iwi, and working in such a creative, thoughtful way in terms of our young people and our whānau, and just adding those opportunities, you know, where they might have started at KFC and that's where they saw their life going, and to actually, you know, have that increase because his lead was turned down and this lady here going along, pushing the point. But, the inspirational stories of young women, so, Panapa, your dad and I were great mates, and I haven't seen you since you were about that high, so it just warms my heart to see you today and to hear you presenting and see what you're doing. I've been reading your paper and stuff, come from the same place, but, Manos and, Manos is gone now, but Manos and Alex, I met them when we were doing the rock carvings in Taupo, and they're good men. It's your dad down in Wellington. So I have met him briefly, but congratulations on your work. What I'm really trying to say is, between us, the people who we see present today, and I think we can say that a lot of ourselves too, is that we realise that what we do is our destiny. And to get young people to be able to just simply say, without having to make any excuses to anybody, but knowing in their heart of hearts that what they're going to do with their life is their destiny, and be able to say with no questions, no, I'm doing this because it's my destiny. Kia ora.
Any other question?